Welcome to Warm Clay and Honeyed Teacup Steam, a gentle and comforting sleep story designed to guide you into a peaceful night's rest. If you find tranquility in this story and would like to experience more like it, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for a haven of calming audiobooks. Before we step into the sunlit world of Sarah's pottery studio, we will take a few moments for a simple breathing guidance to help you unwind and prepare for a restful sleep. If you'd prefer to drift straight into the story, you can find the chapter timestamps waiting for you in the description below. Now, find a comfortable position. Let your body settle deeply into your bed, feeling fully supported and at ease. Perhaps adjust your pillow or blankets to create a nest of softness and warmth. Allow yourself this precious time to gently release the day and invite stillness and peace into your evening. Imagine the soft glow of morning light in a quiet studio, the gentle whir of a potter's wheel, and the comforting scent of honeyed tea. Let these tranquil images begin to soothe your mind. Let's take a calming breath together. Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose, feeling the air fill your lungs with gentle ease. Exhale slowly and softly through your mouth, like a quiet sigh of contentment. With each breath, imagine any tension melting away, like warm clay softening in your hands. Visualize the smooth, cool texture of damp clay, the warmth of a honeyed teacup in your palms, and the gentle rhythm of the potter's wheel turning. Let these sensations deepen your sense of relaxation. If your thoughts begin to wander, that's perfectly natural. Simply acknowledge them gently, like observing clouds drifting across a calm sky, and then softly bring your attention back to your breath or the sound of my voice. There is nothing you need to do now except listen and allow the story to carry you into a state of deep relaxation. Feel the gentle rhythm of Sarah's day in her studio, the quiet flow of simple routines. Let it wash over you, bringing a sense of serenity and peaceful anticipation for the night ahead. Now let us step into warm clay and honeyed teacup steam, where the scent of clay and honeyed tea, the gentle sounds of a potter's studio, and the quiet beauty of everyday moments await to guide you towards a tranquil and restful sleep. Chapter 1. Morning Light on the Potter's Wheel. Sarah awoke to the gentle filtering of morning light through the linen curtains of her bedroom window. A soft, pale gold painted the room, hinting at the dawn that was just beginning to break. From outside, the chorus of early bird song filled the air, cheerful chirps and trills, a welcoming symphony to greet the new day. She stretched languidly beneath the warm duvet, feeling the cozy weight of it against her body, a comforting embrace that held the last vestiges of sleep. The quiet hum of the refrigerator in the adjacent studio was a gentle, familiar sound, a low thrum that underscored the stillness of the morning. No harsh alarms, no sudden jolts, just the gradual, peaceful awakening of the world. She rose slowly, padding barefoot across the cool wooden floor towards the studio. The air there was slightly cooler, carrying the faint, earthy scent of dried clay and the lingering coolness of the night. As she entered her studio, Sunstone Studio, a wave of gentle tranquility washed over her. Morning light streamed through the large window overlooking the garden, illuminating dust motes dancing in the sunbeams. The potter's wheel stood silently in the center of the room, a familiar and comforting presence. Shelves lined the walls, displaying an array of finished pottery mugs, bowls, vases, each piece a testament to hours of focused work and quiet creativity. She moved to the sink and filled a basin with cool water, feeling the refreshing chill on her hands. Then she selected a portion of clay from a large bag, its weight substantial and reassuring in her hands. The clay was cool and damp, yielding slightly to her touch, a smooth, grounding texture. She kneaded it gently, feeling the resistance and then the pliability as it warmed in her hands, preparing it for the wheel. Settling onto the stool before the potter's wheel, she centered the clay with practiced ease. The low whir of the electric wheel began, a soft rhythmic sound that filled the studio, a gentle hum that seemed to resonate with the quiet rhythm of her own breath. Her hands, guided by years of experience, worked intuitively. She felt the clay respond beneath her fingers, rising and shaping, slowly transforming from a formless lump into a vessel. The morning light strengthened, bathing the studio in a warmer glow. The bird song outside grew louder, a cheerful accompaniment to the quiet industry within. Sarah lost herself in the process. Her focus narrowed to the clay in her hands, the gentle whir of the wheel, the subtle pressure and movement needed to coax the form she envisioned into being. Time seemed to soften and stretch, losing its usual rigid boundaries. The studio became a sanctuary, a space of quiet concentration and peaceful creation. The only sounds were the hum of the wheel, the occasional soft thud of clay being added, and her own gentle breathing. A profound sense of calm settled over her, a feeling of being completely present in the moment, connected to the earth through the clay in her hands, grounded and at peace as the day gently unfolded around her. As she worked, she glanced out the window occasionally, noticing the dew-kissed lavender in the garden, the vibrant green of the leaves, the gentle sway of branches in the soft morning breeze. These glimpses of the natural world outside, framed by the studio window, served as gentle reminders of the quiet beauty that surrounded her, enriching the peaceful atmosphere of her creative space. She continued shaping the clay, her mind quiet and still, allowing the simple act of creation to fill her morning with a sense of purpose and profound tranquility. Chapter 2: The Scent of Honey and Chamomile. Mid-morning arrived in the Sunstone Studio, the morning light now full and bright, casting warm, elongated shadows across the terracotta floor tiles. Sarah stepped back from the potter's wheel, a row of newly formed bowls resting gently on a nearby wooden board. A pleasant weariness settled in her muscles, a satisfying ache that spoke of productive work and focused energy. She stretched again, feeling the gentle release of tension from her shoulders and back. The studio air was now infused with a delicate blend of scents, the persistent earthy aroma of clay, subtly warmed by the morning sun, and the fresh, slightly sweet fragrance drifting in from the garden outside. She noticed the faint perfume of lavender, carried on a soft breeze that rustled the leaves of the maple tree just beyond the studio window. Moving to a small corner of the studio, she prepared a pot of chamomile tea. The gentle clinking of the kettle being filled with water, the soft hiss as it heated on the small stove, these were familiar and comforting sounds. Part of her daily rhythm, she carefully measured out dried chamomile flowers into a teapot, inhaling their delicate floral scent, a promise of calm and gentle warmth. As the tea steeped, she retrieved a small jar of local honey from a shelf, its golden hue catching the light. The honey had a rich floral aroma, a deeper sweetness that complemented the gentle chamomile. She poured the steaming tea into her favorite pottery mug, feeling the comforting warmth spread through her hands, a tangible sensation of soothing heat. She added a spoonful of honey to her tea, watching it slowly dissolve and swirl into the golden liquid, releasing its fragrant sweetness. Carrying her mug, she settled into a comfortable armchair positioned by the window, the soft cushions yielding gently beneath her. From here, she had a clear view of the lavender patch in the garden, now buzzing with activity. Bees, plump and busy, moved from blossom to blossom, their gentle buzzing a low, continuous hum, a natural counterpoint to the quiet stillness of the studio. She watched them intently, mesmerized by their diligent work, their focused movements as they gathered nectar and pollen. The sunlight glinted off their wings, tiny flashes of gold against the deep purple of the lavender flowers. Sipping her tea, she savored the warm, soothing liquid. The chamomile was delicate and floral, the honey adding a rich, comforting sweetness that coated her tongue and throat. The gentle warmth spread through her body, easing any lingering tension, inviting a deeper state of relaxation. The scent of honey and chamomile filled the air around her, a fragrant cloud of peace and tranquility. She rested her gaze on the garden, letting her mind drift gently. The buzzing of the bees, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant chirping of birds. These sounds of nature created a soothing soundscape, a backdrop for quiet contemplation. She felt a deep sense of contentment settle within her, a quiet joy in the simple pleasures of her morning break warm tea, the scent of honey and lavender, the gentle industry of the bees, and the peaceful stillness of her sunlit studio. This moment of quiet respite, infused with gentle sensory delights, rejuvenated her spirit, preparing her for the afternoon's work with a renewed sense of calm and focus. Chapter 3: Afternoon Shadows and Glazed Textures. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, the light in the Sunstone studio shifted and softened, casting longer, more defined shadows across the room. The bright, direct sunlight of mid-morning had mellowed into a warmer, gentler glow, painting the terracotta tiles in shades of ochre and umber. The air still held the faint, comforting scent of clay, now mingled with a subtle dryness from the sun-warmed earth outside. Sarah surveyed the shelves of bisqueware pottery that had been fired once, now ready for glazing. The pieces were pale and porous, their surfaces matte and slightly rough to the touch. She moved among them, carefully selecting pieces for glazing. Considering their forms and the glazes she had chosen, each piece felt cool and substantial in her hands, holding the memory of the clay's pliability and her shaping touch. Preparing for glazing was a different kind of focus than working on the wheel. It was a process of precision and careful application, demanding a steady hand and an eye for detail. She gathered her glazes, each in a bucket, their colors muted and earthy in their liquid state, milky whites, soft blues, subtle greens, and warm browns. The glazes had a smooth, almost velvety texture, cool to the touch. She began with a small bowl, choosing a celadon glaze, a soft jade-like green. Carefully stirring the glaze to ensure it was evenly mixed, she held the bowl firmly and slowly dipped it into the bucket. The glaze flowed smoothly over the porous surface, coating it evenly. She held it for a moment, letting the excess drip back into the bucket, observing how the light played on the wet, glossy surface of the glaze. The process was methodical and repetitive. Each piece dipped, drained, and placed carefully on a wire rack to dry. The studio became quiet again, punctuated only by the soft dipping sounds and the gentle clinking of pottery. Sarah's focus narrowed to the task at hand, her movements deliberate and precise. She found a quiet satisfaction in the meticulous nature of glazing, the careful attention to detail, the anticipation of the transformation that awaited in the kiln. As she worked, she noticed the changing light in the studio. The afternoon sun was now angled, casting long shadows from the shelves and the potter's wheel. The light seemed to highlight the textures of the studio, the rough plaster of the walls, the smooth terracotta tiles, the varied surfaces of the pottery itself. The studio felt quieter and more intimate in the afternoon light, a peaceful haven bathed in soft, diffused sunlight. Occasionally, she would pause, stepping back to observe the glazed pieces on the rack, noting the subtle variations in color and texture, the way the glaze caught the light. Each piece, though still in its unfinished state, held the promise of its final form, its ultimate beauty waiting to be revealed by the fire. This anticipation, this gentle unfolding of potential, filled her with a quiet sense of purpose and patient expectation. The afternoon hours drifted by in this quiet rhythm of dipping and drying, glazing and observing. The studio remained a sanctuary of calm and focused activity, the gentle sounds of her work blending with the soft afternoon light and the subtle sense of clay and glaze, creating a peaceful and grounding atmosphere as the day moved steadily towards evening. Chapter 4. Evening Embers in the Kiln. The day was drawing to a close in the Sunstone studio, the afternoon light fading into the soft hues of early evening. The studio was bathed in a warm golden light as the sun began its descent, casting long, stretching shadows that deepened the sense of quiet intimacy within the space. The air, still carrying the faint scent of clay and now a hint of wood smoke from a nearby chimney, felt cooler and crisper as evening approached. Sarah had finished glazing for the day, the racks now laden with pieces coated in their smooth, wet finishes. She turned her attention to the electric kiln, a large metal-clad cylinder that stood in a corner of the studio, a silent, powerful presence. Firing the kiln was the culmination of the day's work, the transformative process that would bring the pottery to its final durable form. She carefully loaded the glazed pieces into the kiln, arranging them strategically to ensure even heat distribution. Each piece was placed with care, nestled amongst its companions, ready for the intense heat that lay ahead. The loading process was a kind of quiet ritual, a final act of preparation before entrusting the pottery to the fire. Once the kiln was loaded and sealed, she set the temperature controls, selecting a slow, even firing cycle. The low hum of the kiln began, a gentle vibration that resonated through the studio, a subtle promise of the heat that was to come. As the kiln warmed up, a faint scent of warming ceramic began to permeate the air, a clean, slightly mineral aroma that was both familiar and comforting. The studio lighting softened further, casting the space in deeper shadows. The evening outside deepened as well, the sky transitioning from gold to hues of rose and lavender. The gentle hum of the kiln filled the quiet evening, a steady, rhythmic sound that created a sense of cozy intimacy within the studio walls. Sarah dimmed the studio lights, leaving only a soft ambient glow. She settled into her armchair by the window, drawn to the faint glow emanating from the kiln's small peephole. Peering through the hole, she could just discern the faintest orange glow of the heating elements within, a promise of the intense heat building inside. Watching the kiln in the dim evening light felt like observing a quiet transformation, a slow, steady process of change unfolding in the stillness of the night. The low hum, the subtle warmth radiating from the kiln, the faint glow of the embers, these sensory details created a comforting and intimate atmosphere in the studio, a sense of peaceful anticipation. She sipped a final cup of chamomile tea, the warmth spreading through her, mirroring the gentle warmth radiating from the kiln. The studio felt like a haven, a quiet, safe space where transformations occurred, where clay turned to ceramic, where potential became reality. A sense of completion settled over her as the day drew to a close, a quiet satisfaction in the work accomplished, and a peaceful anticipation for the morning's reveal, when the kiln would be cool enough to open, unveiling the dawn-fired pots within. She knew, as she prepared to leave the studio for the night, that the quiet magic of transformation was underway, slowly and steadily, in the heart of the kiln. Chapter 5. Unveiling the Dawn-Fired Pots. The first whispers of dawn were just beginning to paint the eastern sky with their palest shades of rose and pearl when Sarah quietly slipped into the Sunstone studio. The air inside was still cool, holding the hushed stillness of the pre-dawn hours. Outside, a gentle mist clung to the garden, softening the edges of the familiar shapes, creating a veil of quiet mystery over the lavender and herbs. A sense of peaceful anticipation hung in the air, a breath held gently before the day's true awakening. The electric kiln, now completely silent and cool to the touch, stood as the focal point of the studio. It had held the warmth of the fire through the long night, cradling the pottery within its insulated walls, and now it held the secret of their transformation. The silence of the kiln felt profound, a stillness that spoke of processes completed, of changes wrought in the unseen hours. A sense of gentle reverence settled over Sarah as she approached it, her footsteps soft on the terracotta tiles. Releasing the latches with quiet clicks, she slowly opened the kiln lid. A whisper of warm air escaped, carrying with it the clean, earthy fragrance of fired clay, a scent that was both grounding and subtly uplifting. It was the smell of earth transformed, of artistry realized through heat and time. The studio was instantly filled with this delicate aroma, a scent that promised beauty unveiled. Soft dawn light, filtering through the studio window, now illuminated the interior of the kiln. The pottery within glowed with a new life, their surfaces reflecting the gentle light in subtle, captivating ways. The pale bisque forms of yesterday had been reborn in vibrant colors and smooth textures. The transformation was both subtle and profound, a testament to the alchemy of fire and glaze. With deliberate, unhurried movements, Sarah began to lift the newly fired pieces from the kiln. Each one felt surprisingly light, yet solid and complete. She held each piece in her hands, turning it slowly, allowing the soft dawn light to reveal its unique character. A small bowl glazed in celadon now possessed a gentle jade green depth, the glaze pooling softly in its curves, creating subtle variations in tone. A mug glazed in a warm, creamy white had a comforting, tactile smoothness, inviting touch. A vase adorned with a soft blue glaze shimmered with a delicate, watery luminescence. As she unloaded the kiln, the studio slowly filled with the quiet clinking of pottery being placed on the shelves, a gentle, rhythmic sound that accompanied the growing light of dawn. The air warmed slightly as the first rays of sunrise touched the studio window, painting the terracotta floor in patches of soft gold. The garden outside began to awaken too, with the first tentative chirps of bird song, a gentle melody heralding the new day. The scent of freshly fired ceramic lingered in the air, mingling with the fresh, cool scent of the morning mist. Sarah arranged the finished pieces on the shelves, creating a harmonious collection of forms and colors. Each piece, now imbued with its final fired form, seemed to hold a quiet energy, a silent story of transformation and artistry. Stepping back, she surveyed the studio, now filled with the dawn light and the quiet beauty of her newly created pottery. A sense of deep peace settled within her, a quiet satisfaction in the culmination of her work. The unveiling of the dawn-fired pots was not just an ending, but a gentle beginning, the start of a new day filled with the quiet joy of creation and the simple beauty of handcrafted objects. Surrounded by the warmth of the dawn light and the gentle presence of her pottery, Sarah felt a profound sense of calm and contentment, ready to embrace the quiet rhythms of another day in her sunlit studio.